bright in here. There's always this lag. You never know. Hi. Hello, hello, hello. I'm just going to make sure I am actually live. That tells me that I'm in the right place because, I do a lot of things in different ways and then you never know. My name is Leanne Furness. It is April 9th, 2024. I'm not sure how that happened. Okay, it says I'm live on YouTube and Facebook. All right, so I'm just going to put my phone down. Today I'm going to talk about the Trusty Tools Bundle. That is a bundle still in the mini catalog. That mini catalog, my room is a mess, so don't look beyond what I'm showing you today to clean up. So it's in this catalog. The good news is these stamp sets and the stamp set and the dies, are going to be in the next catalog. So that's exciting. However, you won't be able to get them as a bundle. So if you're planning to get both, you might want to order the bundle before the end of April because their bundle price will be gone and you won't be able to save 10%. So I thought I'd highlight this. I watched a couple videos from other demonstrators. I know a lot of my customers do that. I love it. Frenchie did some amazing things and she is very creative. And I'm going to show you a couple of things she did. And this is going to be a little different video than what I usually do. I usually just show you what I've created and how I kind of did it. Today, I'm actually going to create 2 cards while I'm talking to you, which we'll see if this works or not. I'm just going to have a disclaimer. Not sure how long this will take, and I might make a mistake, but that's okay. That's about life. All right, let's go to my work surface. And I know 1 o'clock is not the ideal time, and that's okay because I have to do me, right? I have to do what time I'm going to do what I'm going to do. So this just is going to be a consistent time for me. So I will do it at 1 p.m. And if you're working during the day and you can't watch, then hey, know that on Tuesday evening, you got a video to watch, right? All right. So this Trusty Tools, this is the stamp set you get. And it's a 2-step. So I'm going to go over that a little bit because I don't think I've talked about that for a while. And then you get all these dies. Now I put my dies, sorry about that, in my stamp set when they coordinate so closely. And this one has so many dies, there's a flap. I'll show you why the flap. All right, so these photopolymers, I say, do really, really well with 1, 2-step stamping, and 2 with the die cutting because you can pre-cut and then line it up because you can see what you're doing. That I love. All right, so let's go ahead and just show you what I mean by 2-step. I'm going to go ahead and just take two white cardstock, basic white, and I'm just going to grab the hammer, and I'm sure you can not quite see that here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. The hammer, I don't know how to do that. We'll just do it this old-fashioned way. The hammer, ooh, don't look at that belly. The hammer has the details, and when you stamp it on just plain cardstock, that's what that looks like. Okay, I can't tell if it's bright enough or not because my light's too weird. Okay, so, and then of course the die cuts it right out. Well, the die cuts it out. So that's kind of the fun parts. I mean, that's not 2-step, but that's just the idea of what you can do. 1, just have a regular 1-color hammer. You can stamp your hammer, and colors I'm using today come from the designer series paper that was in the catalog of the celebration options. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use gray granite, and the reason I'm doing that, you'll see in a minute why I'm doing those same colors, and you can do whatever colors you want. But for this purpose, we're going to stamp the hammer in gray granite, and then I'm just going to pull that up, and then I'm going to clean it, of course, because you never know what I'm going to do next. And then I'm going to grab, oh, I said I was going to die cut first. See how I'm talking about this and I don't do it? So, okay, I'm just showing you. Jeez, Leanne. So I'm going to show you copper clay and the hammer handle. And so you kind of just ink it up with copper clay. I'm going to stamp off because my copper clay is super dark, and just do this. Okay. So that's two-step stamping without any die cutting. Let me show you how you can make your own designer series paper with that technique. Here, I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take a piece of basic white cardstock. It's just 8.5 by 12. Put it in my copper clay. That makes complete sense. Hold on, let me just pull this up a little bit more so you can see what I'm doing. I apologize profusely. I really should say please hold because that's my thing, right? Okay. There we go. So, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make something similar to this. This is one of the sheets of designer series paper that was in the celebration offerings. Can't get that anymore, but that's okay. Even though we don't have all of these tools as stamps, we can still make something similar to that, right? And so the color combos are gray granite, poppy parade, lost lagoon, copper clay, and crushed curry. So I'm going to do the same concept, and I'm going to start with this concept. Now, this is called a one sheet wonder, and I've done it maybe before, but I don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some black paper under that so you can see what the heck I'm doing. At least something not white. So I'm going to make a background stamp basically with all my photopolymers. Now, photopolymers can stretch and move and be kind of kittywampus. So you want to be careful. So I'm going to grab the wrench and make sure he's straight, my tape measure, my paintbrush. I think that's going to be it for today, not my pencil. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of lay this out every which way because, again, when you look at a designer series paper, it does that as well, right? It goes every which way. So we got the paintbrush here and the paintbrush there. And so instead of just randomly stamping this over and over in different places, I decided, in my wisdom, I don't even know where my sample is, to do it this way. Okay, so see, you can turn these, and so there's not quite straight. You don't want to do that. You just want to be careful. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do this and this. And like I said, this is going to be the longer video that I've ever done. And why? Just because. All right, this is how you two-step stamp, and then I'm going to stick my tape measure right in there. That looks good. Okay, so I'm going to again use gray granite, one of our core colors, and stamp that. And I'm just inking it upside down because the stamp is so large. And I'm going to start right in the middle. Now, if you've ever stamped with me and we're trying to do a pattern, I would tell you not to start in the middle. But today I'm telling you to start in the middle because of what you're going to do. You're going to expand on that, right? So we're going to go down here. We're going to turn our stamp, and we're going to add these images at the bottom, if you can only see. All right, so then you'll see that I went off the paper. Okay, I got to figure this out. Off the paper, which is great because designer series paper, again, when you look at the patterns, let's put that over here. The images are not just stop right at the edge, right? So we want it to give it some character. Now, I'm going to go over here and go on the top and stamp in the same direction I did down here. And I'm going to just keep doing that. Now, this is where a pre-recorded video might be better because I could have like sped this part up and it didn't have to be so clunky. So you're getting the idea, I hope, about how that works. I'm going to show you the end project here in a minute. I'm going to go like this, and we're going to call that good for right now. Okay, so then So that was pretty simple because you had all the main parts on your one block. And that block is called E. Okay, so now I'm going to take my copper clay, just like I showed you right away, and take my inside of the hammer. Now, this is, you really got to play a little bit. Like this one is the hammer part, which I already used. This one is the wrench. And how do you know? Well, that's the best thing about this photopolymer. You can kind of line it up like that, making sure you have the right trajectory and the right, in case you curved it. And the hammer fits perfectly, the hammer color, right like that. So that's how I figured that out. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my copper clay. And again, I'm going to stamp off because I don't need that yet. It's too dark. Now remember, I said I got these color combos from that designer series paper. I could do any color combo, really, right? I could do red and green and orange and purple and pink. If you're making this for a person who likes pink, don't do that though. Rather than the traditional colors of a tool. Okay, so I think I got all my hammers. It doesn't really matter because I'm not using this for the most part. Okay, so I can put my hammer two-step back. So this is basically the two-step process. You stamp an outline, and then you stamp the inside. And when it's a photopolymer, like I've said, it's so much easier to line up. And then what I usually do is I line it up like that. I grab it, and I'm going to stamp off the blue Lost Lagoon too, because that is pretty dark. Now you get kind of a washed out look, and if you don't like that so much, you can kind of rock and roll your stamp a little bit to give it on your ink pad, to give it some character per se, like it's worn out. It's all what you want. Okay, so you get the idea, right? So I'm going to go like that. And then my tape measure has, of course, this little circle that we're going to go ahead and use Poppy Parade. Now, when you look at my Poppy Parade, it looks a little, well, maybe you won't be able to see it, but our pink ink has some chemical reactions sometimes. So this one is looking a little creepy weird. So I'm going to go ahead and return it and get a new one. But for today, it's going to work just fine. So that's how you get your kind of designer series paper. And through the magic of television, I'm going to get rid of that and hope I can find the other one. Here it is. So this is what I ended up with as my designer series paper, quote unquote, right? So let me make sure I don't get ink on anything else. Really, it turned out pretty cute, I think. Clearly my Poppy Parade, the red, was a little bit less dry. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this down, which is why my trimmer's here, and then we're going to move it out of our way. I don't think I need it. Cut this down to be just the typical size of the second layer if you had a frame. So basically you're going to do not 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to do 3 3/4. And remember, again, it didn't matter where I stamped those because I'm just going to use parts of it by 5. All right. So now you got kind of the gist. You could fill this in with the little stuff if you wanted. I thought this would be cool to put it on top of this Lost Lagoon that's been already embossed with the metal plate. That kind of goes with the tools, right? So I thought that'd be cool. But then I thought, wait, I'm wasting all that paper. So first of all, I'm going to run this through my emboss and die cut machine. Pretend that's done. And when it comes back out, I have this piece I can save for a later project. And then I can run it through the emboss folder again. And then as I layer this, if I put this too far away, I'm going to need it. So I'm just going to put it right over here. If I layer this, then you're never going to know I cut out part of that paper, right? So you still get bang for your buck. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Grab my adhesive sheet and put this layers on. The in the mini catalog, the embellishment that they show with this, I believe, is some cork things. Those are not going to be around after this mini catalog leaves, but there are some upcoming embellishments that will look great. I do not have them yet. They were coming, I thought, today, so I was excited. But I guess they're not. They're coming on Friday. So Friday will be a great day. No plans for me except for playing with my new stuff. Ha, right? Okay, so that's super cute. And this was cut out with the decal rectangles, and those are in our catalog right now, but they're going to be online only. Again, another thing we have to kind of keep thinking about. And so I already pre-cut and stamped happiest of birthdays. Now I know some of you are going to go, where'd you get that from? That's a really good question. Where did I get that from? Hopefully I have it right here where I'm organized throughout the year, which guess what is also an online exclusive. It was in the holiday catalog and it decided to carry over. So being online, I don't know how long it'll be around. I know it's around right now, and I know that it's got all year long covered, right? You got all kinds of things. You got cheers, best of luck, trick or treat. You mean so much to me. You could do Mother's Day with that. All right, so then I thought I would just pop that up with some dimensionals. You know how you can never find stuff when well, maybe you don't, but it's true. Things disappear right before your eyes, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put my dimensionals on here, trying to make sure I can see everything, just because I want it to be popped up. And because of that, I tend to put another dimensional. These are like, what, half a penny each? I don't know. Who am I to say how much they really cost? I'm going to go ahead and just put one in the middle so it has some of that support. I know, super simple card, but that may be what's your kind of cup of tea. So this is kind of a super easy card. You just need some shapes for your gradings and your double stamp, and you can do all kinds of fun things. All right, let's kick it up a little bit into what was next. What was next? Oh, I'm going to show you. Okay, so that was not die cutting anything, right? Except for the grading. And again, you wouldn't have to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the fun dies. So pull this back over here. There are a lot of dies. So this is going to be your drill base. And my drill base, I did a lot of pre-cutting because I thought, well, you don't want to watch me cut. That's pretty boring. So here's my drill base cut. It's pretty cool. And then it also has the die for, I'm going to move that on my way so I know I talked about it. The bit, the drill bit that goes like this. Now I'm going to show you something that blew my mind. Frenchie discovered this and I thought, oh my gosh, because I don't have silver foil cardstock. I have holographic that's retiring and I don't even know if it's available anymore. And so this is going to be in our next catalog. And I thought, well, how am I going to make this silver? Because I tried, like with granite gray, it's just not the same. You want it to be shiny. Well, watch what happens. If you have, not that one, I'm going to move this back over here and put this here. If you have any alcohol-based markers, and that's the key, alcohol-based markers that you didn't lose while you were straightening up, you can remove some of that gold. Now, Frenchie, her name is Frenchie Martin, I want to say. Oh, here it is. She used her smoky slate to kind of just go over the copper. And what that does is it pulls off that copper. Well, I thought, I don't want to ruin my smoky slate blend. I'm going to go ahead and just use my ink remover, a color lifter. Well, who knew? It doesn't work on every foil sheets that we have, but it did work great on this. And if you get a little bit of copper or gold still sticking out there, then you know what? It looks like it's rust. So there you go. Mind blowing. So now I can do my drill and have a silver bit, which is really what it's supposed to look like, right? I'm going to show you how to use that in a card in a minute. The other fun little tidbits of Stamp and Cut, you have your obvious, right? You have the tape measure, which is here. But, and I did already pre-stamp that with Daffodil Delight, but this little guy right here is a die that comes from, oh my gosh, there's so many little pieces. And I was like, okay, how am I not going to lose anything? Well, I'm going to lose things. Okay, so this little die, I'm like, what in the heck is that for? I don't even know. I came up with a creative way to use this, but I think one, it could be this little knobby to give it some dimension. This could be this in here. That'd be kind of cool. So I think that's really what it's designed to do. But again, if you cut this out first, and I'm going to do that in a minute, you can just stamp that on top. So that's how that's going to work. And actually, I'm going to put that together right now because otherwise I'm going to lose them. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little adhesive. And the reason I'm using my adhesive sheet is that I'm going to end up pulling some Tombow out here. And that just makes me crazy, but it can go on this adhesive sheet and then not get the rest of my paper all gunky. All right, so there's my little handy dandy tape measure. But wait, there's more. If I cut the tape measure details out, which is another die, ta-da! I can go ahead and cut it out of my gold foil. But you know how this is really, like Frenchie said, this is mostly silver, not gold. Hello, flip over. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that gold like that. And sometimes they are yellow inside, so I think that looks pretty cool. And then if you want more definition of your lines, for instance, see how they're kind of there. I'm going to be fine with that, but you could go over it with a black marker, probably a Sharpie, maybe a blend, probably not the Stampin' Rate markers. All right. Well, let's just try it. Let me grab my black, basic black, dark, the skinny section, and just kind of shade in those parts so they really pop. I kind of like that. Like I said, Frenchie is creative. I don't know how she figured that out, but that is super. And if you want this to be silver instead of gold, you could color that too, but I kind of wanted it to kind of match the gold, and silver. So there we have our stuck tape measure. Okay. So we got that done. We got this done, but we're going to use it again. Trying to think what else I need to do here. This hammer, again, we talked about this. It would be a lot easier if you stamped it after you die cut, which is total opposite what I tell you. But I wanted this to be silver up top, and I want this to be my copper clay. So I'm going to do what I did already and stamp this part, which is the shorter of the two stubby things. Stubby. I crack myself up when I'm talking. All right, so I'm going to stamp off again because it's so dark. And I'm going to add that there. All right, so then I'm going to clean it because otherwise I'll forget what I want to do. You can't even see what I just did. What the heck? Okay, so I added my copper. So then what I'm going to do is take my copper clay, excuse me, take my blend and remove the silver or the gold off this thing, and you can see my blend. The other reason I thought I could just use this instead of my gray other blends is that I can buy like many of these myself, just buy a bunch, and that you can buy them individually. So I'm going to be placing an order clearly for these because this is like, this is mind-blowing to me. I don't know why it is such mind-blowing, but it is. And then, so, I mean, really. So then Frenchie did this, and I thought this was a genius thing too. I took my pen, because like it does a brand new hammer maybe looks like that, but not really one that's been used. And so you kind of want to give it some dings and dangs. Dings and dangs. And so it works better on your mat. Okay, so that kind of looks like it's been beat up, which is perfect for what I want. All right, I'm going to go ahead. Copper clay, you need to go away. Grab my adhesive and put this on top. Now, I know you're going to ask me, can I stamp StazOn on this foil? I don't know. Should we try? We could try. I'm just going to kind of make sure that this looks like it's underneath the handle more so than it did. And then I have my hammer. Well, we can try. What do we have to lose, really? Here's another hammer. I think I should remove the ink first, the color. So I'm going to use this because I would think this would remove StazOn, but I don't know. I'm going to experiment. Okay, this is really getting like a bad Uber. Uber? That's not the word. It's drying out. The other thing with the alcohol-based markers is that you don't want to leave them uncapped. Like if you're going to work on another project, cap that baby up because it's rubbing alcohol, right? So it's going to disappear on you, and then you're going to have a dry marker like I have right now. So what I'm going to do is just leave it like that. See what happens. I'm going to grab my black StazOn and create an avalanche in my room. And StazOn's, you know, a whole nother mess. And you need to use a completely different ink cleaner and ink pad. StazOn is more, it doesn't dissolve. It will stay forever. I'm like, where is my hammer? And so I'm just going to load up the front, the top, and I'm going to do this and line it up. So you can kind of see what I mean by, you can see lining up with a photopolymer is way easier than not. Okay, that kind of worked out, didn't it? This is why we experiment. And then let me see. Okay, so I'm going to see now if I take this off. Yeah, that's what I thought. So if you're going to do something crazy like that, you want to remove your gold, unless you have plain silver, stamp on the silver, and it's going to take a little bit to dry, but it will dry. You can stamp on clothing with this, all kinds of things, but then you do need to use the StazOn cleaner that is super oily. And how I use that is I take my, oh my gosh, this video is becoming longer and longer. I take my old stamping, well, it's not old, my stamping mat, dryer mat, and I just put a little bit of StazOn on a corner because this stuff is really goes a long way. And then I'm going to take my stamp that has that on, rub it in there, and it's oily, so it takes it off, but then I don't want that. So if I put the StazOn on this cleaner, you're not going to have it. So you'd want to clean it again then after the StazOn with either Stampin' Mist or this squeegee, whatever it's called these days. Okay. All right, so that's my hammer. That's my trick with the gold foil if you don't have silver. The other thing I wanted to show you was, okay, so let me get this out of the way. I also said that I wanted to, and you get the point of the two-step. Let me show you that there's this die that makes the pegboard. I think this is the best part of the whole die set. It makes this pegboard. Like, who doesn't like little pegboards? Well, if you've ever been in my room, you'll know I do. I like pegboard. I'm going to go ahead and trim this down just to be a little bit smaller than what it is. Again, I'm using gray granite. because I want to keep with my theme. And so I'm just going to add a little border. I know I could have used the old-fashioned measuring devices, but this is just as good. All right. And so I'm going to take that. I'm going to run it through my machine while I'm with you. And I'm going to use my mini because all these dies fit in your handy dandy mini. And I don't know about you, but I love my mini to go places. If I go to my sister's lake for a week, this will be along with me because you never know when a creative idea pops in. So I'm just going to go ahead and line that up. The one thing about the mini is you want to make sure the plates are not completely lined up. Otherwise, it's not going to grab it. I'm going to go through. Sorry. Go through it. And this is a brand new plate, so it's really going to go tough. Okay. Then, if you have a take your pick tool and you get the die brush accessory, you can go ahead, and it comes with this little handy dandy thing. So I just put it in an old box that I had so that it can contain my dots, because when you get this done, you get a lot of dots everywhere. And that way they're in my box. My dots are in my box. All right, so that's my little trick. If you've ever been to my house, you'll see those out. I have those in my drawers by my machines. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just straighten this baby out. I didn't tape it down or anything, which I might have wanted to. You can see maybe some Poppy Parade on my trimmer and on my fingers. I was trying to re-ink my Poppy Parade, and it ended up, my husband thought maybe like I murdered somebody in here or something. He's like, what is wrong with your hands? Oh, the Poppy Parade got out of control. That's it. All right. Okay, so that's my die cut part. It's hard to tell. Okay, so this is, and if there's still dots in there, then you can pound them out in your box. The other thing in the designer series paper was, and again, you can't get it, but why am I showing you? I'm going to show you kind of what you want to try. Was the pegboard with a different color. Okay, so how would you manage that? Well, you can do one or two things. You can cut this out like I did, grab a lighter color, a brighter color, to emphasize that, like that. You could put black behind it to emphasize those. And what I would suggest is cutting the background, we're just gonna go with that one, a little smaller than what your actual image is. And so if you grab a scissors, I know, don't have a heart attack, scissors, I'm just gonna kind of, because no one's gonna see this part, trust me, no one's gonna care that you use the scissors and you are crooked, except maybe you if you're a perfectionist. And okay, that's a little too close to the edge, so I'm just going to trim a teeny bit. Now here's the trick, so that it looks like, if you saw my pegboards on my walls, they're not flush with the wall. They're not like this, because how would you get your pegs in there, right? And I'm a realistic person. I like to have realism in my images. So I grabbed a secret weapon in our catalog that I don't talk about a lot, and it's called adhesive strips, and it's for exactly this purpose, and they're right somewhere close. Are they in here? No. Well, that's the snickerdoodle problem. Okay, well, I know where more are, so that works. Okay, so we have these strips, and they're meant for shaker cards, but the strips you can cut and manipulate. So like if you wanted to do a shaker of a different kind of shape, you could do that. But what I want to do is make my pegboard stand out without seeing the adhesive. Okay, so as you can see, this one, this may have been in a paper pumpkin. I don't know. They come in really long strips. They're the same height as all of our other adhesives. So if you use this plus some other dimensionals, they're going to be the same height raised, which is kind of good to know. And that's just really not working out. But you get the idea. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you my finished card. So let me know if you like seeing me actually create in real time, or if you like the other version of me, because I think I like the other version of me better. This is kind of a lot of work if you think about it. Oh, look, see, here they are. So here's the strips I was looking for. And here's the card I made. Look familiar? Now this is a way interesting tool. We don't have a stamp set for that. However, we do have dies, and that's what it's hard to tell what this is, right? So this and this, these are your blades. So when you cut it out, you get a blade and a blade. And then when you cut this out, you get handles. And then you can make yourself a pliers. This isn't really quite right how I want it, but so how I got these on here is I just glued them on right here. And there you go. You have a great thank you card for a handyman or a handy person. And that helps you out. If you wanted to add some embellishments at any time, you can cut out these little guys. And that is the nuts and the bolts and the screw, I think. And so, again, I cut them out. I tried in gray. That's it. And I said, that's don't look right. But then I tried it in this gold foil. And guess what I'm going to do again? You bet. You got it. I'm going to remove. Where did that come from? Remove. Oh, I see. Remove. Now, I chose to do this afterwards. You could do it before. You could also put a sticky sheet on here and make it, be more of a sticker. The reason I chose to do it after is because I thought, well, I don't want to color a whole piece of my gold foil, not use it all, and waste some of this, valuable color lifter thingy. All right. So you guys get the idea. And I think on my next one, I might have put them on there. I don't know exactly. Well, we're going to find out. Okay. So the other thing the DSP had, I will post pictures of these too. The other DSP that caught my eye was this, which looked like a toolbox, right? The kind your husband or somebody in a garage would have. And I thought, how can I make that? How can I make that? Well, let me show you. So what I did is I kind of went with what they did, and I created this little tool bench box thing. I think it turned out really good. A couple things. I'm going to post the measurements, but remember how I said this was kind of made up something new for it? This is my wheels. Again, I used the whatever this was called. Oh gosh, I really need to do this more often. I cut. So for my base, I cut this down, and it's 3.5 by 2 3/4. And then I made 3 drawers of the same color, Poppy Parade. And those are 2.5 by 1.5. No, 3/4. 1 and 1.25. So, but what I thought was kind of a bummer though, is that on this DSP, you can kind of see where it has some shading and stuff. So I thought, well, why can't I shade? I can shade. I got the tools. So I grabbed this brush and I grabbed this Poppy Parade ink pad. That's sad. And I just grabbed some ink, and then I just buffered a little kind of edge so that it gave it a little bit more dimension. Hopefully you can kind of see that. So then you can kind of just do whatever. And I did it both on the drawers and on the base. Not that you can tell. It just made me feel better. And then the other trick for the gray handle, quote unquote, is that you're going to put adhesive on the piece that you're adhering to. And the reason I'm saying that is because if you put adhesive on here and you've got places you didn't, you're going to see it and you don't want to see it, right? Like this is already upside down. So you can see that I'm going to see some of that adhesive versus if I put it on, excuse my cough, if I put it on here, again, this is why I love this adhesive sheet or this silicone mat. And then I can line it up where I want. And again, these are 2.5 and they're just like 1/4 of an inch at the most. And then you can line it up. You can line it up actually in the back. And then you have your drawers. And if you use Tombow glue, it would be a little bit more pliable and move. So the other thing about this card is I stuck in these little embellishments or these little part of tools. So these are popped up with dimensionals. This is popped up. The top drawer is not. How I created this is I used this stamp set and this stamp set, and I just fussy cut off the most. Well, he might be the most awesome dad, but maybe I just wanted to say you're the most. You were awesome. So that's that. I know I'm missing something. Oh, I know. Okay. So you probably, if you want to get really putsy futsy, and that is not my mantra at all. So the fact that I'm showing you this is a little bit out of my comfort zone. The other die that's in there. So we have this die. Then we have this die and this die. What the heck is that for? Think of the old-fashioned toolboxes your grandparents or your dad even maybe, or someone you knew had growing up. So you go ahead and cut that. I cut it out with crumb cake. And then I threw mine in, just threw it in. The timber embossing folder. And then it has the wood grain on it. But then you misplace it. It's supposed to be right there. Strange. All right. So let me grab the wood grain and hope it's here. I don't see it. Freaking out just a little. It's always right where you want it to be. Not. I try to make my space bigger so I don't lose things so often, but that is not really working out for me either. Okay, well, think about it like this. If I went through and this just bugs me when I can't find stuff and I'm talking about it. All right, the minute I get off live, it will show up. All right, fine, I'm going to let go. You know me well. Letting go is not my forte. I do it really poorly. Clearly. Clearly, I do it very poorly. All right, letting go. And if I knew where my embossing folder was, I would do that, but I don't. Oh, for crying out loud. All right, so these are kind of more putsy-futsy kind of creations. And then you could also put this on the back of the cardstock and have an old-fashioned toolbox with the little grains across here. The other way you can make a grain kind of thing without the embossing folder, I don't know if anyone's ever shown you this, but you can just drag a stamp pad across and it kind of gives you like a faux kind of look. That works as well. Not quite the look I was going for. What I was going to do is emboss it and then pull that across. But that's okay. This is still the same. And then you can kind of just add a little, character. It's an old toolbox. Put some tools in there and you got a really cute gift. Or, you could make this into a 3D project. Lots of people have like a 3D box with actual handle. That's not for me. But this is for me. Let me show you my last card, which is the easiest. And let me tell you, I know sometimes I'm simple. I mean, I can get all fussy and mussy, but good gravy. They're just going to read it and throw away the card most likely. So that makes me kind of cray-cray. All right, so this card, here's where I use my embellishments. I have 3 strips of paper, and they are, let's do it in metric. I'm kidding. They are 1.5 inches by 1, 2, 3 3/4. And if you can see, I think you can, good. I stamped the images with Versamark, another product that we have in our catalog that I don't talk about enough because it's a great product to use if you don't have a whole lot of colors. So, excuse me, I'm going to get a drink of water. So Versamark is basically makes a watermark on any of your colored, your core cardstock. Now, the darker your cardstock, the better this works. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and change this up a little bit, only because I don't know where my hammer is. And I'm going to grab the tape measure, and Versamark is clear. It works great to do some heat embossing. It works great to do some other fun techniques, which I'm going to focus on techniques on Tuesday. So this technique is called two-step stamping, and how you don't have to do it two-step. That's my thought process. But then as it dries, it really does just make a watermark. Of course, we have a refill when it gets dried out. But that's pretty cool, I thought. That's why I just assembled. There's the hammer. And again, I use the same kind of color group, copper clay, crushed curry. I added Misty Moonlight because I didn't think Lost Lagoon would be dark enough to be able to see what I had stamped. For example, if I stamp on this gray, this granite, it's not quite as prominent as in the blue, but it still works. All right, that was quick. Oh my gosh, not really. It was long. It was the longest video I've ever done. I apologize for those people who are watching. And for those that you watch it on Rewind, you can go faster, of course. I'm sure by the time I get done here, I will find my wood grained tool. I will take pictures and post these on my Facebook and under my YouTube video. Thank you for watching. I'll be back here on, for sure, next Tuesday at 1 p.m. And I might hop on before that. You never know. I might have some fun products to share. Thanks for watching. Bye.